Hey y'all, it's Miss A. Today we're going to be looking at equivalent ratios again. We saw it yesterday. And we're also going to be looking at ratio tables, which is just a table set up of equivalent ratios. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to review how to determine if two ratios are equivalent. This is what we did yesterday by completing the first problem at the top of our page here. Remember that on Canvas you do have a printable copy of these notes for you. So if you have a printer at home and you would like to print them, you're more than welcome to. I know some devices you can also you might have the software that you can write on the PDF on your actual computer or tablet. So it is there for you for your convenience. All right, so on this one it says, which of the following is best represented by the ratio 4 to 5? So my ratio is 4 to 5. I'm going to start by writing that ratio as a fraction. You're going to see why here in a second. But you also could write it as a, with the colon in between the two numbers. That's fine as well. But I'm going to keep it as a fraction. So we want to determine which of these answer choices, A, B, or C, is represented by the ratio 4 to 5. But you notice that my numbers are all different here. So we need to set each of these ratios up to the ratio 4 to 5 and see which two are equivalent. So I'm going to start with my given ratio, 4 to 5, and I'm going to set it equal to this ratio, 8 cows to 20 horses. Remember, whatever is given to you first is your numerator, and whatever is given to you second is your denominator. All right, and now to determine if they're equivalent, remember we have two ways. The first way you could do, first thing you could do is just cross multiply here and see if the cross products are the same. But I'm going to try to find that relationship going across and see if that relationship is the same. So my number went from 4 up to 8, so I know it increased, which means we're going to have to multiply. And I know that 4 times 2 will get me 8. And I'm going to look for a relationship down here as well. Again, it increased, so I know I'm multiplying. But this time, 5 times 4 will get me to 20. So because I did not multiply by that same factor, these ratios are not equivalent. So I know it's not going to be 8. All right, we're going to do the same thing for this next problem. Again, our given ratio is 4 to 5, and we want to see if that's equal to 24 over 10. So if you look at these two ratios, something should automatically be a red flag to you. And hopefully you can see here that this is a proper fraction, meaning the smaller numbers on top, bigger numbers on the bottom. And this is an improper fraction, meaning the bigger number is the numerator and the smaller number is the denominator. There is absolutely no way these two ratios can be equivalent because one is proper and one is improper. In order for something to be proper, it has to be less than 1 in value, and improper is greater than 1. So there's absolutely no way they are equivalent, but we can prove it. So if I find that relationship here, I know that it increased, so I'm multiplying, and I know that 4 times 6 is 24. Down here, it's also increasing, so I'm multiplying, but 5 times 2 will get me 10. Again, I did not multiply by the same factor, so I know these ratios are not equivalent. All right, and then the last one, C, should be our answer, but we need to prove it just to make sure we didn't mess up somewhere previously. Our ratio is 12 pens to 15 markers. Remember, which I didn't do here, the first number always is your numerator, second number is your denominator. So our known ratio is 4 to 5, and we want to see if it's equal to 12 to 15. We're going to find that relationship going across, times 3. 4 times 3 is 12. Down here, 5 times 3 will get me 15. So because I multiply by that same factor, I know that these two ratios are equivalent. So that is the correct answer. Remember, you also could have cross-multiplied and seen if the cross products were the same. To me, it's just easier to do it this way. All right, and then the next thing we're going to look at are ratio tables. And like I mentioned earlier, ratio tables is just a table made up of equivalent ratios all the way across. Every fraction that you see here in a column are equivalent to each other because that's what a ratio table is. So we are going to use a ratio table to solve these word problems. It says a recipe for 1 apple pie calls for 6 cups of sliced apples. So they put here 1 pie, 6 cups of apples. how many cups of sliced apples are needed to make 4 pies? So we know how much we need for 1. We want to see how much it's going to make, how much we're going to need for 4 pies. So one thing we could do is we could just double it, okay? If I have 2 pies, if I double the amount of pies, I'm going to have to double the amount of cups. So 6 and 6 make 12. All right, if I tripled this recipe to make 3 pies, I would have to triple this, which is times 3, and I would get 18. And the same thing here, if I were to make 4 pies, I would have to multiply by 4, and I would get 24. So you didn't have to do these 2 steps in the middle. You could have seen, okay, I know to get from 1 to 4, just like we saw up here, in order to get from 1 to 4, I multiply by 4. So in order for it to be equivalent, I have to do the same exact thing at the bottom. I can't multiply by a different factor or else the ratio will not be equivalent. So if I multiply 1 times 4 to get 4, 6 times 4 will get me my answer of 24. And that also works for each of these. 1 times 2 is 2. 6 times 2 is 12. 1 times 3 is 3. 6 times 3 is 18. So that's how we can determine an equivalent ratio, by just finding a factor and multiplying across by that same factor. All right, the next one, Justin bought 40 packs of baseball cards for a discounted price of $64. So you can see in our table, we have a column or a row that has the number of baseball card packs and then the cost in dollars. So we know that 40 packs, so here's my packs, I'm going to put 40, is for a discounted price of 64. So here's my cost, and I can put 64 here. If he sells 10 packs of baseball cards to a friend at cost, how much should he charge? So we want to know, if he sells his friend 10, we want to know the cost in dollars. So we're trying to find this piece right here. Now, I'm going to address here in a second, we can do this, but what if we go from 40 down to 20? Okay? Because that's a big jump from 40 to 10. What if we just go to 20? That's half of his cards. So half of 40 is 20. So all I have to do to figure out this number is take half of 64. Taking half is just dividing it by 2. So we're going here, we're dividing by 2. We're doing the same thing here. So 2 goes into 6 3 times, the remainder of 0. And then 2 goes into 4 2 times with the remainder of 0. So $32. And then here you can see, to get from 20 to 10, we're again going to divide by 2. So in order to get this missing value, we have to again divide by 2. You can see it's the same because everything is equivalent. So now I have to do 32, divide by 2, and I'll get my answer. 2 goes into 3 1 time. Subtract, you get 1. Bring down your 2. 2 goes into 12 6 times. So the cost for 10 packs of cards is $16. Now, like I said earlier, we didn't have to go to 20. We could have gone directly from 40 to 10 by dividing by 4. So 40 divided by 4 is 10. 64 divided by 4 should get me my answer of 16, if we did it correctly. 4 goes into 6 1 time, which is 4. Subtract, you get 2. Bring down your 4. And then 4 goes into 24 6 times. So we just proved that our answer was correct. So we didn't have to find the 21st. I just did that because I knew to get from 40 to 20 was divided by 2. And then I could get from 20 to 10 by doing the same exact thing. All right, and then one last problem. A recipe that yields 20 cups of soup, so makes 20 cups of soup, calls for 20 ounces of beef broth. So right here we have our table. We have number of cups, so that's 12. And then ounces of beef broth. I don't know why I can't say that word. 28. And then we want to know how many ounces of beef broth we need to make 18 cups of soup. So we want our cups to be 18. So here's my number of cups. I want it to be 18. And we're solving for this missing piece right here. Now, earlier, we were able to take half of it, and then we were able to, find that relationship going across. What I'm going to say, you couldn't find that relationship. What we could do instead is we could take this ratio and we could simplify it first. Because remember, simplifying keeps the ratio equivalent, just makes the number smaller. So we're going to find 12 over 28 on my multiplication chart as close together as possible, even though if it's spaced out, it's okay. So here, the only place I see it is right here in the 4 column. I've got 12 and 48. They're very spaced out, but that's okay. They're on top of each other, and it doesn't appear closer anywhere else. So to reduce this, we're just going to move all the way over, and we get 3 over 7. So an equivalent ratio to this recipe, 12 cups for 28 ounces, would be 3 cups and 7 ounces. So now you can see here we have an easy relationship to see from 3 to 18 is multiplying by 6. Sorry, I know it's kind of crazy. 3 times 6 is 18. So now all I'm going to do here is multiply by the same factor of 6, and I get my answer. 7 times 6 is 42. So 42 ounces would be needed to make 18 cups of this soup. So what we did here, again, is we took our known ratio of 12 cups to 28 ounces, and we simplified it or reduced it using our multiplication chart first. We got 3 to 7, and then we were able to find that relationship going to 18. 3 times 6 was 18. 7 times 6 is 42. All right, guys, if y'all have any questions over this, please don't hesitate to ask. You know I'm available on Zoom. You can shoot me an email in Canvas as well. I'm here to help in any way I can. Guys, I've said this before. Make sure you please subscribe to my page so that you can get notified anytime I post a video. Make sure you press that bell to get notifications, and go ahead and send me a comment send me a comment down below and let me know if you have any questions over this, and I can get in contact with you. Y'all have a great day, and I will talk to y'all soon. Bye, guys.